expressed on the following program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers. They do not reflect this network or streaming service. Welcome to the program, folks. Welcome to a retake, a reshoot. The guy didn't show up the first time. He's here tonight. So we're going to try to do this again, folks. So we sit here with Kejaun. So go ahead and tell us, everybody, why you weren't here last week. What's going on?
Well, as being a father, fatherly duties, it calls before anything, and like I said, I wanted to be here, I wanted to be on here, but when I got called and my daughter was in trouble, I got to go. So,
All right.
but
So you are two-time or currently holding two titles. So how did you get into the field of backyard wrestling and why?
uh, well, I've been into it since I was little, so I've been into wrestling since I was little. So it was like ever since I learned how to ever since I learned how to uh, pick up a person, what I'm saying, it just came full circle, it came full swing, and I didn't really get my first big break until 2 years ago when I joined GWC Intensity here in Georgia.
And what is that? Is that a real? That's a backyard wrestling fed for the listeners tonight that may not know what we're talking about. We're not talking about guys going in the backyard and hitting each other with garbage cans and acting like a fool. We're talking about actually just having a wrestling ring in your backyard, and that's where the show is.
Yeah, that's a real promotion. That's a real backyard wrestling promotion, and like I said, they did have that type of style at first, where there was no ring, but they finally came and they had a ring and they called me and was like, "Hey, we want you to come and wrestle for us." And I was, me, and then I was the first inaugural champion of the season, so it was like they had it to where um the old guys, they went pro, they went indie, and they left. So they didn't have anybody to fill that void. They still had like a bunch of old guys, like two or three old guys left, and then the rest of us, we were just new. We were just new guys, new timers, and we came in, we tore the house down, we tore it up, and eventually from there, I instantly got known because half of everybody, yeah, I had some negative comments, I had some positive. But I got a call from a whole different state in Alabama that wanted me to come wrestle for them and on their show because they're an upstart company. They haven't been out too long. So they wanted me to come put their guys over. And that did me some good because I was able to go over there and put their guys over and make them look good. And they felt good to do that.
Well, you talk about a very interesting topic because there's quite a few uh, um, uh, jobbers that what for the listeners, jobbing is what you do when you do a job. It's basically you're going to lose. Now, I've made my semi career that way, filling in for guys when they didn't show up, jumping in the ring when I was told to, and basically losing. And putting over means to, for our listeners, and correct me if I'm wrong, it means
Hmm.
to make the other guy look a little better than he is in a short term for it. Now, uh, as that, do you experience? I kind of experienced that one a little bit of lack of respect, not too much though, and a little bit of more of toughness, like they will be tough on you and expect you to know something or how to take a move that differently or something.
Hmm.
Now, is that the same in backyard wrestling? Because when I did backyard wrestling, and I'm a legend, I did it back in the '80s when this stuff was not known like it is today. I grew up, and we would go to the garbage hopper. We would get the beds or mattresses, or we would get mats. Or another guy had a boxing ring. In fact, he was a boxer, and he would let us use pieces of the boxing ring with the ropes. So just put up 3 ropes, and it was a little wobbly. It wasn't the best landing on it. It wasn't like the foam things we have today, but at least it was something to do. We made our own. We basically, got ideas from television at the time, and we did very well. And throughout my history of growing up now, I'm kind of an old timer, if you would call me an old timer. But I guess backyard wrestling is something that is shunned and tabooed. Do you have a reason for that? Because I've never found the reason why they shun and taboo us. They don't taboo and shun the backyard basketball players that play basketball in the street or anywhere. They don't shun people playing football games or whatever, little league baseballs and all this stuff. So, what is your opinion about being shunned for this stuff?
Well, hmm. Well, for the simple fact that everybody had their, they shit. Everybody had they stuff to pick from. Everybody had their niches. Everybody had something. There was underground basketball. There was underground football.
Underground
And
fighting became
right,
popular before
underground
UFC
fighting,
did.
UFC, because people realized it was gonna take longer to get to those places like UFC and stuff like that. It was gonna take a long time to get like okay, like wrestling fans. Wrestling fans know to go to Ring of Honor, AEW, WWE, Impact, TNA, whatever. It's gonna take so long to get there. And it's like
Well, my goal was never to be there. My goal was to have an audience of my own audience, kind of like my podcast here. My idea is not to go to WNBC radio, WABC radio, and say I'd like to become a national radio show. I'd like that. Don't get me wrong; it would be great to do it. But that's not what I'm. That's not my focus. Um, so, what is your for the listeners
okay,
now?
okay. Let me
Okay.
give you a little something. Let me give you a little something. It's just
Yeah.
so it's like you said, your dream is not to be like on professional radio.
Well,
That's perfect.
terrestrial radio and satellite for radio for me, for right now, is not my goal. My goal is to have a steady audience, to do well, and become popular on a streaming platform online. I want to become popular. However, I respect the guys that are there, and I think all of us can work together to make and support each other to get us all there. But it's like you said with the WWE. When I do wrestling, my goal is not the WWE. I want to enjoy that audience is right there, my local audience. I want to enjoy the audience that sees me online. I want to see the audience. To me, being able to interact with my audience is something good. Professional wrestling, uh, in that aspect of like WWE and Ring of Honor and all this, I don't think the wrestlers have a personal rapport with their fans or their non-fans. If you're a heel, if you're a face, which means a good guy and a bad guy. I think we all knew Hulk Hogan when I was a kid, but none of us. I don't think really Hulk Hogan's going to pay attention to us when he goes to the next town. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
And
want to be able to pay attention to that person in the next town, and then I come back, and these fans are still my fans. Hulk Hogan did not care if I was his fan or not. He was getting paid to go out there and wrestle, no matter what if I cheered him or not.
I mean, well, everybody has, like I said, everybody has their niche and everybody has their
Yeah.
little Everybody has they little thing they go by. And me personally, me myself, I preferably, I would stay. I'm not gonna say I want to always be in backyard, but I support it 100%.
Uh-huh.
And as long, I don't care how long it takes for me to get noticed. Like if I have to go to the next town and go to these different promotions, I will do that.
Yeah.
I'm not finna, I'm not gonna like I said, I'm the type of wrestler. Like I want to be like Cage. I want to be like Fuego del Sol. I want to be like Fuego. I want to be like Cameron Jackson. Those guys started out in backyard, and now Cameron Jackson is in the Indies. Fuego, who everybody knew was Cage in KBW, he is now in like the most paid backyard star. He's in AEW. He was fighting for a contract, and all of a sudden now he's in AEW with Cash Wilder, Cash.
Now, for our fans, AEW is another Fed, just like the WWE, just like WCW and ECW was. I think it's called All Elite Wrestling. Is that correct?
Right.
And it's done by Cody Rhodes. I don't even know if Cody Rhodes is the owner or
No,
not.
no, no, no. Cody's actually in WWE again, but he's
Oh boy.
silent.
So they're just jumping the feds like they did with WCW and the rest of them.
Basically, at one point it was beef and then they realized neither side was making money or profiting from it, and AEW was just like, you know what, none of us ain't making no money from this. Um, we're not. None of us are making no money from this. None of us are getting any type of good press from this. It would be best if we work together and stuff like that because as long as we in beef and we in competition, no one's gonna get nowhere. So I mean, what else can we do?
Well, I don't think anybody could beat Vince McMahon. Personally, if Vince McMahon wanted to put his foot down, you're not going to beat his show. Back when the territory wars, if you would, he owned all of New York. NWA kind of owned the Florida Championship Wrestling in Mid Atlantic. They had the West Coast had their Pacific Wrestling with their NWA. So it was kind of for our listeners now. So because some of our listeners may not be wrestling fans, they may not know the ins and outs of backyard wrestling or pro wrestling like we do. Um, so that's a little history of what it was. Back then they had territories, now they don't. The companies are competing for ratings on television. Obviously, they want money in their hand as well. Now, you just mentioned something too. It wasn't worth fighting over. So what transpired with that though? Did it do any better, or is there still a thing? Because most wrestlers are independent guys. They can go where they want to. Legally, they can go wherever they want. They're under a contract. The contract says this date ends. They got to make another contract or they can do what they want. So, in your opinion, has this solved anything? Has it made it better or worse?
I necessarily think that it made it like a lot. I want to say it made it better because for the simple fact, everyone's able to make money from it. Everyone's able to prosper from it. Everyone's able to do whatever it is that is gonna take to get your. That's like okay. That's like with my music. It's the same way. If you're independent, and that's what I believe in. If you're independent, you can go and do whatever you want to do. As long as you sign a contract with someone, you're under their jurisdiction. You're under their rules. Like with the Drake and Josh movie, Drake was so fast and so happy to sign that contract, and as soon as he signed it, his song got changed, and everyone was using that Triple H line. Oh, it's best for business. I'm like, no, it's not. It's best for you.
Yeah. Well, there's I don't know how to say this. There is a very thin line between what's business and what's personal gain when it comes to some of this. And for the listeners, what I'm talking about is if you come to me and want to become a wrestler, and I say, sign this contract for this month. You're going to do 4 shows every Saturday. Okay? Let's use real simple for the audience. You have to show up at all those 4 shows. And if you don't, then I don't have to give you any money. So now you're obligated, first of all. Second of all, you have to do what I tell you. So if I say you're losing to people every day, you're not going to have a win. And by the way, we're not televising any of your matches. But the rest of the show, you're going to do dark matches, which for our listening audience is normally matches to ripe up the crowd. During Raw's days and Nitro days of professional wrestling, they would have a dark match during the commercials. Sometimes they would end and they would have big blocks of 20 minutes between sections of what they were doing. So they would have 2 guys come out and wrestle to keep the crowd entertained. So then you become a dark match guy, which I don't think is anything wrong with that. You're getting paid, you're there, you're wrestling, you have a job. People are seeing you, you know what I mean? However, there's some people that don't like that at all. They want to have the money, they want to be the fame, they want to have the power, if you would. Um, it's almost uh, it's almost debilitating in a way. It maybe is the word of what you're talking about, where you have to sign a contract and be under someone else's mercy on whatever they'll do to you. Now, the other side of this is if you're a freelance guy, like you're saying, and not under a contract, do you actually get the business? Are you going to find the work? Are you going to be able to have the job? Or what
My thing
happens with
is,
that?
if they finally tell you like, hey, this is your big shot, you can job for so long. You can job for so long until they just say, hey, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna sign you. I want you to take this push. I want to sign you this, that, and the third. And it's just like, dude, like, okay,
Well,
I had to keep losing. I
well,
had
you
to
do
keep.
realize some of the jobbers really quick here. I can name a few right off my head. The Brooklyn Brawler, Barry Horowitz, Del Monte, um, Chris Stevenson, um, Jack Nugget. These were uh, guys who jobbed, and now some of those men are making money. That's jobbers. If they go to an indie fed right now, they want money in their hand of almost $1,000 to $2,000, like a regular pro would get. So,
I
but
mean, I don't blame them. I don't blame them because
yeah,
for the simple fact, I'm listening. If you tell me right now that you want me to come to your fed and job, if you want me to come to your fed and job, I want I want to get paid regardless. But if you gonna sign me and give me a good decent push,
mm-hmm.
I would be glad to come in your federation and wrestle or whatever. But if you gonna book me just to lose every single match, like it's okay to let them win at least 1 or 2 matches. Not back to back, but spread it out a little bit. But don't book them to if you know okay, with GWC, I wasn't considered a jobber. I did my homework. I knew how to take falls. I knew how to take punches, and my charisma was right on point. My promo skills was on point. But they wanted to keep pushing dudes like the Future and Black Mamba and people like Roland Rockwall who really didn't even want to be in the business anymore. So it was like you had to where you had me in the ring with people that didn't even want to do this anymore but they were doing it just to they was doing it to keep the show alive.
Yeah.
And you want me to job to people like that? Like I would know that's not it. That's not me.
Well,
If you
let's real quick for the listeners here. Jobbing's a talent Let's say me and you have a wrestling match. I stand 6'3". I'm 319 pounds. I'm a big guy. You have to know how to fall. You have to know how to take my hits. I have to know how to take yours. That's a basic professional wrestling match, okay? Backyard wrestling match.
But the only thing they don't tell you is jobbing is for people that's just getting started, that don't know the business, that still have to know. Why you think all those people like Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Eric Rowan, why you think all those people was getting win after win after win? Because they were facing jobbers. They were facing nobody.
Well,
They
back
was
in the
just,
day, WWE had jobbers to showcase the wrestler's talent, and then a WrestleMania or a special event or a special match would come up, and you knew what they could do. You knew what Road Warriors could do because they just beat some jobbers on Saturday morning wrestling. You saw the one man gang versus, Del Monte. Del Monte loses, and then the one man gang faces the Great Kabuki, let's say, okay? World class championship wrestling, very good match. And you got to see, and before that, the Great Kabuki faces Shebek. Shebek's a wonderful jobber. So he wrestles him, and then the two face each other, and you showcased what these two guys could do. What could the one man gang do to Great Kabuki? What's the Great Kabuki going to do to one man gang? And that's how a job is supposed to be done. It's supposed to present the other wrestler for something. Now, is there ever a story behind this? Because I'm kind of getting the thing from you is they just put you out there, lose to this guy. We don't care about you. There's no real storyline with you or the other guy.
half the people I follow, like Jacob Storm and stuff like that. Me and Jacob was my tag team partner, and
Uh huh.
we had a storyline. We had a storyline. That
Yeah.
was good. Me and River One Riot. That was another person I fought. Great talent, tremendous talent. We had a storyline. Let me see. On down the line, I had a new faction. One of my guys, he ended up, he stopped coming. So they was like, well, you won't be a rival with him because he was in your faction and he stopped showing up, which makes you upset. They was trying to do like the Roman Reigns angle with me when it came to, me having two partners and then all of a sudden one of them stopped showing up and, kind of what Roman was doing with the Usos. So I said, you know what? Fine. I'm like Moxley
Now,
at this
for
point.
our listeners, who are these people? Because some of our listeners may not know who they are, and I'm not
Okay,
sure of the guy. So let's for our listeners break this stuff down a little bit here with the names, because some of these people might not even be following wrestling. We have a lot of listeners all over the world. Thank you all for listening. If you want any more about my show, www.iambrotherwade.com. But let's break this down. The person who's Roman Reigns was I guess you would call it top name, top card guy at one time.
Okay, so River Run Riot was one of, he was a new guy like me, and then in the course of the show, the season, he got a couple title wins under his belt, and he ended up being one of the top dogs. Nino and MJ Payne were my tag team partners. Me
Uh,
and Nino got into a rivalry because he kept telling them that I was his cousin. I was like, okay, whatever. So basically, they were trying to run the same angle they ran with Roman Reigns and the Usos. They were trying to
uh,
run the same angle.
okay.
So
So we
so at
have
this
so Roman Reigns and Uso is a World Wrestling Entertainment's guys, and you're comparing that to that. So for our listeners, they had some kind of competition going on, and that's what you're comparing it to. Now, when you compare
no.
this,
I'm saying like no, that was no. It's not a comparison. I'm
oh,
just saying that's the angle they took.
okay. So they're trying to do the same show as those had with you. They
Right.
copying. They're basically copying the script, if we can say.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, everything in wrestling has been done. There's only two things that have not been done. No wrestler has ever stripped nude and ran through the audience, and no one has ever set themselves on fire and rolled around in the middle of the ring. That's the only two things I can think of that no one's done. And I've seen Japanese death matches and everything. So For our listener audience, anyways, not for me and you talking about this, because I find this very interesting on another whole level. But for our listening audience, wrestling has storylines, which are what you see at the show. So what you're saying is they decided to duplicate something with you that's already been done.
Right.
Did it go good? Did you guys do better? Did it change anything? Did it? Because I've seen some duplicates like that that did very well. That both times it happened with all of the people involved, it was absolutely wonderful.
I mean, it was okay. It just it just their booking was like very bad. Their booking was like the booking now. Ever since I've been gone, the booking now has actually improved. But the booking back then sucked because nobody knew what they was doing. Nobody knew what they was doing. Everybody was always doing stuff. And at this point, I was just like, you know what? I'm done. I just want to just. I was like Mox at one point. I want out my contract because like the booking's not good. Y'all booking me to lose against people I know I can beat. So it's like, yeah. And then y'all want to keep putting over the same person. It gets stale.
So let's go back to the backyard wrestling here really quick because you just said something that I would like our listeners to know a little bit more about the backyard, how it works here. You said you could beat these people. Now, does that mean challenging? Does that mean an actual fight? And does backyard wrestling for the audience, for our listeners now, not for my information, but for theirs, for their knowledge, backyard wrestling does the same planned stuff professional wrestling does, or did your organization do stuff different?
Well, I mean, in a sense, I'm saying I know I can beat them because, like I said, once once you put over the same guys, it gets boring. So eventually, it's gonna make me, in my mind, as a wrestler, as a performer, it's gonna make me think, well, hey, I can do this. I can do this different. I can do that different. I can go back at old tape and look at what you did, and hey, okay, I can use this move to counter this move. I can use that move to counter this submission, and so on and so forth. And it's like I said, if the booking's bad, you're gonna just take matters into your own hands and just say, screw it. Go ahead and do it your way. Go off script. Cause it's like really once you start going off script, things will just at this point.
I've seen some of the best shows go off
I've seen some of
script.
the
I've seen
best go
some of the
off
best
script.
shows go off script.
Right. I've seen some of the best. And Moxley, John Moxley said this in one interview. He was like, "What made him leave WWE?" Okay, this is the same way I felt. I'm gonna give y'all. The booking was bad. The booking was horrible. What y'all was doing was really like kind of. It was ticking me off at one point. And at this point, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna give y'all one more chance to get this right. Like, can every storyline y'all put me in not be so freaking stupid? Like, this is cringe. Y'all put me in a storyline against a guy that I know I can beat up. That y'all put me in a storyline against another jobber. That was
Yeah.
like the weakest thing I could think of. And it's like you putting a strong guy against a jobber, and you making the jobber win on his first go. And it's
Well,
like
I've seen that a lot of times. They come out of wrestling school. They tell them you're the greatest here. You have your wins,
right. And that's
and
the thing that
it's
picks me
almost.
off.
And then back in the day, for our listeners, again for our listeners, back in the day, people like Arn Anderson, people like Ric Flair. Let me see off the top of my head. The
And the
Undertaker,
Iron
actually,
Sheik.
the Undertaker when he first started wrestled Brody Lee. Let's see some other. The Honky Tonk Man talked about it. They had all started, even Triple H and The Rock, and all these people that the audience, and even Mick Foley, the Cactus Jack himself, all started with uh, not so much as jobbing, but hey, you're not going to have wins. We're not going to do pushes. You're going to do what the promoter wants when they want it, and that's the way it is. And that was the way it was. You did what the promoter asked. There was no questions. There's no sit down with me with a piece of paper and write out what you think could happen. The match goes this way. A lot of times it was a free lance match. In other words, it's a term.
Just go in there and kill each other. I don't care what happens.
Yeah, well, no, a freelance match is more of I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to tell you what to do, or we don't do that. We figure it out ourselves. I'm trying to think of an infinite match where that happened. I can't think of one off the top. Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan was one of those where it was planned for the ending was planned that Hulk Hogan would win, and the two guys figured it out in the ring. Other matches are
in the backyard wrestling world. That's what we call just wing it matches. You
just
know what I'm
wing
saying?
it.
Well, you ask the guy. It's two guys backstage. Neither one
Yeah.
of us got a storyline with each other or no other storyline. They put
See,
in a match with. They just throw you in a match with this person.
yeah, see that shows me my age because when I did that, we didn't plan stuff. Two guys would just walk to the ring and wrestle. We would announce who they are, and when they came out of the locker room, and that was it. So these days, you're telling me that. So these days they call it what again?
Just wing it matches.
Just wing it matches. All right. See, that's how old I am. That shows my age because we didn't even have a name for it then.
Well, Brother Wade, in this day and age, the just wing it matches basically in the back in the yard. You just go to this person, they say, "Hey, it's gonna be you versus Brother Wade." Okay, cool. We ain't got no storyline against each other, so you come to me, I come to you. Hey, what you want to do? Oh, let's just wing it. Let's just do shit. Just make it look good.
Now, have you ever gotten in trouble doing that? Because there was a couple times where I can remember
not at all,
my friends brought like a grocery cart into the ring. He threw it right into the ring, and it's like, what are you doing?
Well, not necessarily because those matches. Listen, all publicity is good publicity. So as long as it looked good for TV, they went with it. They didn't care. It happened. The only thing that kept getting people in trouble was the interferences because everyone loves to interfere. If you interfere, it throws unless it's planned. If you plan an interference, that's good for TV.
Now let's talk about an interference again. An interference is when you're telling me that another wrestler will just go out there and want to join in.
With basically ruin the whole thing.
So you're just wrestling. Me and you are wrestling, and let's say the one of that other Mamba guy you were talking about jumps in the ring and just starts wrestling with us.
So basically, an interference is basically, let's say you and me got a storyline. Now this is storyline wise.
Yeah.
Let's just say, like I said, if me and you having a just wing it match.
Yeah.
But me and Mamba have a storyline.
Yeah.
So that's where that comes in at. The interference comes in sometimes it just be random. But the main interferences, they be related to a different storyline. Let's say, oh, he did this to help you win against me because me and him going at it. That's where it comes from.
Well, see, if I saw another guy just running into the wrestling ring and trying to interfere in a wing it match, what you call a wing it match, I would basically begin a shoot on him, which is me actually, probably pummeling him and probably a good kick to his gut, make him fall out of the ring. And then I'd look at you and say, what's your problem? Because that's our match. That's not his.
Exactly.
However, if it was planned, I would up that so bad that me and Mamba down the road would have a championship, and then another one would come up, and it would be a storyline for a year.
Now, if you just gonna interfere just to interfere,
that's
the plan, then that's where you get in trouble because that wasn't.
Now they allowed that. I mean, somebody in the locker room didn't say, "Ho, you're not going out there." They just let them go out.
Right. It's just like if you go on the GWC Intensity channel, you'll see it was a video, and I forgot who was going against each other. I might have to go back and look at it. But at the end, it was Black Mama versus Roller Rockwall for the
You're
Big
gonna
Time
have to send me some of
Championship.
these links, but real quick, you're gonna have to send me some of these links so I can check these out.
Of
But real
course, of
quick, go
course.
ahead and plug that channel real quick because I want these people to have our support,
Okay.
and I want people.
So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of y'all who don't know, that is GWC Intensity on YouTube. You can check them out. They have great talent there. They got like hell of a talent there, and the main guy who's in charge now, Daniel Nelson or River Run Riot. You can check either one of them out, and you know they'll. But
Okay, I just heard a noise. Are you still there with us? Okay, a loud buzzing noise just went through the thing, and now I think his phone dropped. Well, that's not good. I hope everything's all right there. His phone just dropped. Well, we're going to see if he can come back. How about we go on a break and see if we can get him back up here? Because this has been a great conversation, folks. www.iambrotherwade.com. My email, cwlawrence01 at gmail.com. Our number up here to call today. We're going to open up the lines when we come back as well as 607-238-3816. Call in and ask. I know a few of you listen are wrestling fans. For you that are not wrestling fans, Kejaun is a wrestler. He is a backyard wrestler and a professional wrestler. He is a wonderful backyard wrestler. In fact, I'm in 2 of the groups on Facebook that he's in. So hopefully he'll come back. Hopefully everything is all right with what's going on there. So we'll be right back right after this.
Some stations give you cars. Some stations give you cash. But not this station. Because this station is bro. Flat dead busted. So this station is going to give you a cardboard box. Wear it on your head. Throw it out. Give it to someone else. It's your box and you can do anything you want with it. It's a 6-sided party. Just for listening to win.
Today in school, I learned a lot. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes me. In English, I learned that I'm disgusting. And in physics, I learned that I'm a loser.
Today in school,
In math,
I learned that I'm ugly and useless. And in gym,
In biology,
I learned that I'm
I
pathetic
learned that I'm fat
and a
and
joke.
stupid.
In history,
Today
I learned that I'm trash.
Today in school, I learned that I have no friends. In English, I learned that I make people sick. And at lunch, I learned that I sit on my own because I smell. In chemistry, I learned that no one likes
In
me.
biology, I learned that I'm fat and stupid.
In English,
And in math,
that I make people
I learned that I'm trash.
The only thing I didn't learn in school today,
The only thing I didn't learn today
The only thing I didn't learn
Is why no one ever helps.
Kids witness bullying every day. They want to help, but they don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov.
Nobody can compare it. It's clean in place and show, you know. New York is special, you know. New York is different.
Introducing the fast, efficient way to get it off your chest. It's the all-new Toot and Tell Drive-Through Confessional.
Hello, my child, and welcome to Toot and Tell.
If you've
Now,
committed
I know
10
you've done
sins or
some
less,
things, but
try our Sinner's Express Lane. Or come inside and meditate at the shrine to Our Lady of the Lube Jar. It's all at the Toot and Tell Drive-Through Confessional. Stop by this week and get a free Toot and Tell or Go to Hell bumper sticker. Just look for the clown and the cleric's collar. Toot and Tell. Closed Sundays.
Learn that when he pollutes the air and the water, he declares war against nature. American International Pictures presents Frogs, the story of the day nature strikes back. It was bound to happen, but why now? Why did these particular people on that particular island face this particular kind of slithering, slimy terror? See Frogs, starring Ray Milland, Sam Elliott, Joan Van Ark, Adam Rourke, and Judy Pace. Frogs, an American international picture, in color, rated PG. Frogs, today the pond, tomorrow the world.
And we're back, folks. We did not get a hold of him. Kejaun, I guess, dropped on us. Wonderful conversation with him today. We're almost into the top of the hour with Kejaun today, and we have another at least 30 minutes to go. So the backyard professional wrestling, backyard wrestling, backyard antics, backyard competition, backyard underground, backyard entertainment. It's all the same thing, folks. Backyard wrestling. Let me quickly explain to you what backyard wrestling is. Backyard wrestling is basically wrestling with the old-fashioned mud show. And what I mean by a mud show was, back in the day, the indie shows would come around. We're going to use NWA. We're going to use the Georgia Championship Wrestling. We're going to use the Pacific Wrestling Alliance. As a few examples, they were independent shows back in the day. There was the North Carolina outfit. There was the Texas outfit, Florida outfit, California outfit. New York City was the World Wrestling Federation. It was also called the New York outfit. However, New York is probably not a good example, so the others are good examples. And they would kind of wrestle and trade wrestlers. Like if I wanted somebody, I would get them from the Fed over here, or he would come from over there, and there would be a championship over here to wrestle so-and-so over here. But in their own groups, they had their own championships as well. A mud show was kind of like one of these that were not these big name guys. It's kind of like the indies show today. Back then there was no word independent show. All the shows were independent of each other. They're all independent shows. Independent companies, shows, outfits. And so as it progressed, we progressed down the line to the people who said, I want my own show. We're going to have this little thing over here. We're going to do the gymnasium and the Legion Hall over here. In my area, the Legion Hall, schools for fundraisers, and then there's the big arena, and there's the Civic Hall, and the Civic Center, or whatever you call it down there. And they have these wrestling companies come now, but back then they didn't. And it slowly progressed into something where people said, hey, I want my show, my Fed, my guys. I'm only going to do this. We're not going to obey by your rules. Unified National Wrestling Alliance type, unified some stuff. New York had their thing. I think Chicago had it. I know San Francisco had it. I know Dallas, Texas, the Dallas office, World Class Championship Wrestling was there. The Florida office, I don't know where it was there. And I know also up in Ohio, They had an office, and they would dictate what you did and where and when, and they got proceeds. And if they sent somebody down, it would be this much money, and the ticket would get revenue on the ticket, revenue on the wrestlers. They would get their cut, so to speak. And and a little history of this is, the promoters didn't like it. So some of the little men would say, hey, we're all going over there. The 10 of us are going, and now we're not going to do this anymore. And they would call them mud shows, because a lot of times that's what it was. It was like, a dirty show, a muddy show, a show where the promoter would take all the money and not pay any of the guys. So none of the 10 guys would get their money, but they would show up the next town hoping for the best. And so as it progressed, a lot of guys said, hey, we don't like these rules. We don't, like up here where I am in New York State is very regimented, very rule-orientated. And for an example, I know a promoter who was fined for not writing down the times of his matches. I just recently learned another story that the guy he did not give his ticket sale information. There is a tax on ticket sales, but he didn't give how many tickets he was selling, and they fined him for that. Now, some of this stuff is absolutely outrageous. There's no need to do that, especially when it's considered to be entertainment today. So, it's not like a boxing match. It would be about time and all that, or a UFC thing, but wrestling is kind of different. So they would, back then, they said, hey, we don't want to do this. And my mom's friend's husband, or ex-husband, so it to be, had a boxing ring, and we would use that ring. And he also knew somebody that knew somebody, you know how that goes. And we had our own little backyard wrestling fed. It was more like in the front yard, actually, of where I lived, the front area. We actually had a backyard, front yard, side yard, whatever you want to call it. Anyways, and, a lot of people had these little shows that were better than sometimes the big shows, and they didn't like it. Well, it got to, time when I was getting into high school, actually kind of towards me getting out of high school, people started doing really stupid stuff. Hitting each other with stop signs, using barbed wire. The Big Japan Death Match was becoming popular. During championship wrestling, it just turned to Extreme Championship Wrestling. And this is when they started doing this and not liking this, because the guys would do really, really, really bizarre stuff, jumping off the roofs. We all heard the story of Mick Foley doing it. Well, that was a backyard wrestling type thing, only they were fooling around. But this is what these guys would do, and they would get hurt, and New York State came in and said, absolutely not. That's violence. That's not wrestling. That's not a sport. It's committing violence against each other. They also considered martial arts and fighting to be violence. Well, that's why it's registered as a sport. So a lot of things in New York. But if you're not in New York, I know I have an audience all over the world and all over the United States. If you're not in New York, maybe your town would have, I know New Jersey, I've been to New Jersey for one, they don't have a wrestling commission, they don't have a rule set. Pennsylvania really started upping and getting harsher. They're still kind of in the middle, but at that time they did not have what they have now. And so you could do whatever you wanted as far as a wrestling fed, as long as you followed basic business procedures and paid the ticket sale taxes. There's a federal tax on all ticket sales. There's also a business insurance you would need, and you would need to register the business. And I think you would have to, I think it's a federal law, you have to register the athletes and maybe do have to keep the times of stuff then too. And that's what they did, but they were not these big name organizations. And soon it became a backyard wrestling fed. We wrestle in the backyard. We're backyard wrestlers. Underground wrestling. And, all these names popped up. But to me, it's wrestling. Whether you're wrestling in someone's backyard, you're wrestling in an arena, you're wrestling in a YMCA, a Legion Hall, maybe you're wrestling out on a baseball field. I've been to 2 shows where they wrestled at the baseball stadium. New Dimensional Wrestling did that. They came here. They were out of North Carolina. Very good outfit. They were an outfit wrestling group. They were kind of an indie fed that kind of, towed the line under the other indie feds in their area. Texas has a group that's very good at backyard wrestling. Florida, New York, down by New York City down there, they had one. I think and then COVID hit. Of course, we all know COVID hit, so that ruined a lot of stuff. But before then, they were around, and they were little feds that I dealt with. They were little feds that I knew. They were wrestling companies, small wrestling companies that would see talented guys and say, "Hey, do you want to?" make a living at that instead of just fooling around. They thought it was fooling around. Some guys took it seriously, like Kejaun talking about. Guys would want to have a feud with somebody and try to ruin it for another guy. And I'm sure in WWE, there's a lot of guys that try to do stuff and go off script and ruin stuff and not want to do the stuff they're supposed to. But it never was, because what happened was your group would go to the next town, so to speak, or the next day you guys would have another event somewhere else, somebody else's backyard, so to speak, would then present another show. So the boxing ring, the crippled, wobbly thing it was, would be then put up somewhere else. And we would then call the names different, maybe change the colors of the ropes. The one fed was this hardcore extreme stuff, so tables and barbed wire and everything, and they would rip the mat all to pieces, so we would have to sew it all back together, tape it back together. But the boxing ring was really, a practice ring anyways, so it wasn't stuff, and I never know where that ring ended up. Another ring we got, or what, it was probably a boxing ring. I think it was more of a martial arts type ring. The boxing ring was like 17 and a half. This one was kind of like a 15, 16. It was 16 feet all the way around. We wrestled in a 15-foot area. The boxing ring was, I think it was 19 and a half. Or it was boxing regulations, practice ring. Anyways, this other one, and I don't know what happened to that one. And that one was owned by a friend that I had in high school. His dad knew somebody that had one. Maybe it was a boxing thing or something. Then I remember Boys and Girls Club had a ring that wrestling would be done up there. Oh, this ring, and nobody would have to bring a ring there, and because they had a boxing program and stuff. And then I remembered the ring that was set fire, part of a explosion death match. And it was a really wobbly ring. It would fall apart. We would end up having to get out of it and set it up and pause everything. Or it would just wreck and the match would continue. But these were the days when people really didn't care, because you were enjoying yourself. You were doing what you're talented. You were doing what you love to do. Today is money, and do you have the license for it? Do you have the insurance? Do you have this? Do you have that? Oh, I don't like it because your group is better than mine, and my group is lesser than yours. And like he was saying, let's take you, and you'll lose against these people because these people are still better than you. And it's no longer the fun that I wish it would go back to. Now, there's some groups on Facebook that I do belong to that are promoting the fun aspect of wrestling again. The less competition, but the competition was back in the day. Competition was there, and you had to work hard, and you had to make sure your group of guys or girls and your audience and everything all worked together to make it happen so you could succeed. And, you shared talent, and talented guys went places and became something and did well. Nobody ever tried to break the neck of the promoter, so to speak, because that was your job. That was how you worked. if the promoter didn't last, and the promoter wasn't there, then you weren't there. You were not able to have your job. You were not able to have your, whatever you want to call it, career. So everybody worked together. But today's world is entertainment. It's huge ratings. The shows only want the very best. Let's show the very best. There could be a guy in a indie fed or a backyard fed right now that is better than someone on TV, but they don't want to showcase it because their pride. It's like that in any field right now. Somebody is better than me at podcasting. I know they are. And I'm better than somebody. I know I am, but I don't have that attitude. I want to support the other podcasters. We come up here Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time to do my show. We do it a nice show, an hour and a half, an hour and 45-minute show. We try maybe even a 2-hour show, and we do it every week. And all I ask is that Monday's 8 o'clock slot is mine. Now, obviously, it's not going to be mine. There's a lot of shows. But, they're talking about something that I'm not talking about. And their audience is their audience, mine is mine. So we all work together. I don't see how the competition would come into play. I don't see why anybody would want to compete for another human being's attention. It just doesn't make sense in that aspect. Now, if you're saying, hey, I want you here at Mondays at 8 o'clock. You're going to be in that seat. You're going to be on the couch. You're going to be at the kitchen table. You're going to be in your car. You're going to be at work. You're going to be at a friend's house. You're going to be at a relative's house. You're going to be outside walking. Somewhere you are listening to this program live on a Monday at 8 p.m. Somewhere you are. Somewhere you're listening to the archives. In some ways the archives are more important because that way anybody can listen to them at any time. And but at 8 o'clock, I'd love to have a large audience. I'd love to get you guys and girls to tell all your friends. If everybody is listening to my voice right now, no matter what you are, live or archived, told 5 people about me, they told 5 people, they told 5 people, I could probably have a 1,000-room audience a week. It's that simple, folks. www.IamBrotherWade.com is my website. CWLAWRENCE01 is my email. Our phone number, if your lines are open, 607-238-3816. We have some questions in our chat room. Small little chat room tonight. Thank you all for coming. One of the questions was, how do you get a ring? Well, you can buy one online. You can buy a used one. You can get one that a used one. Basically, somebody doesn't want a ring, so they will sell it to you. So either you get it used and somebody else doesn't want it anymore, or you buy it new. Or you can buy what they call inventoried or uninventoried, so to speak. Maybe something happened to it. Maybe somebody didn't like it. Maybe they wanted a 17 by 17 ring, and then they never, they changed their mind. Well, they got a 17 by 17 ring, and they'll sell it to you, but it's not coming with the ropes. It's not coming with the turnbuckle pads. Not coming with aprons and padding. You're going to have to all do that. All it is just the poles and a frame. Here you go, poles and a frame. Go do what you want with it. But that's how you get a ring. Or you know somebody with it, and they bring their ring to you in your shows. That's how a lot of the independent shows that you see will do it. They will have a ring. They will transport that ring to different places, and they will take that ring to different places, and that's how they have their shows. A lot of times one person owns the ring, one person owns the licensing with the state, another person knows the wrestlers, another person knew the venue because a fundraiser or somebody knows the venue or somebody's in charge of getting venues and shows, another person gets the posters. So it's always a joint effort in whatever you're doing. Now, backyard wrestling is a joint effort with none of the high quality skills. We don't have a posters. The guys meet every week. We have a show. We try to come up with stuff that we can do ourselves. We always got something that we liked. We never copied anything. Maybe we copied moves. I was pretty good at doing a DDT at times. Another wrestler loved Shawn Michaels' kick. Another wrestler loved the sharpshooter, which is basically a scorpion deathlock, which is basically a crossed Boston crab, it's called. Only you cross the legs instead of hold them. The original move was a Boston crab. The figure four, the death leg lock, or whatever you want to call it. He liked doing those things to you, and it hurt you. And the figure four is a devastating move. Probably why my knee is messed up, or has some of the reasons. But they liked doing these things. Another guy liked to power bomb you. He loved the power bomb. He would do it to anybody and everybody, through a table, not through a table, didn't matter, on the floor, in the ring, in the audience, pick you up and just throw you right into the audience. The people that are sitting there watching you in the backyard fetish, family, friends, whoever you invited, he would just pick you up and throw you in them. But this was all in fun, and we knew it was fun. Kejaun talked about something that's very disturbing to me, very disturbing. It's really almost upsetting in a way that he was talking about them coming and interfering and stopping him from wrestling and stopping him from, doing what he wanted to do, doing what he had planned with somebody, and that's not right. The two went out there to have what I call a friendly competition to see which one could wrestle. To see and wrestling, when you do wrestling, you're doing two things. I am only going to, through physical punishment, weaken you, or I'm going to submit you and hurt you, so you get hurt and have to say I'm done, or I'm going to physically punish you so you can't continue anymore and I can pin you. So he came out and interfered. Now that was a friendly competition between the two of them, which many of times I've had. He was calling it a wing it match. Many a times we've had these matches where we just went out and we wrestled, and we saw who was better or weaker or whatever the case may be. Sometimes another kid from the neighborhood would say, "Oh, I want to do it. I want to wrestle." Okay, step in the ring. And we would, what they call in the business, teach a lesson. Now, we never hurt the kid. We never sent him home in pieces. But we made sure that kid learned that this is a serious thing, that we're not going to play games with them. And if they really were good, like a few were, they had some talents, we would say, "Hey, do you want to do this with us? Are you serious? Then let's, think about what you want to do and work together with it." It's not always the fun-loving, coping, demanding thing that it is. It's not fun-loving, coping mechanism. The wheels don't always turn in the same directions, but matches got done. Matches were fun. Matches were, it was something that I'm thinking of highly getting back into, number one. Number two, on a part-time basis. I'm an older man now. I'm 42 years old. I'm an old guy. However, I'm what they call legend series, and probably in backyard wrestling, I'd be a legend. I did this before these people came up. I did basically other things before they even thought about putting a wrestling ring in their backyards. We had a boxing ring outside that we all got in and, wrestled each other. And sometimes he would have fights in the neighborhood. Two kids wanted to fight. Get in there and do it. And it turned into something, but it didn't go as far as it wanted. He passed away, unfortunately, and unfortunately this boxing ring disappeared. I wish I knew where it was, but I don't. I don't even know if the place where I lived is the same anymore. They probably have done something or built on the land or something where the boxing ring couldn't even go there anymore. There's a little piece of lot, if you would call it, and it was put there, and we all had a lot of fun. Kejaun, we've tried to get a hold of him again, and we can't. I'm going to try one more time to get a hold of him right now. The phone has been dialing and it's not answering. So I think Kejaun has disappeared. I hope everything's okay. He disappeared abruptly. I heard him talking, and then there was a noise. You heard him in the middle of a conversation. He started talking and saying something else, and he went somewhere. Well, okay. I don't really understand what happened. I don't understand what came of it, but hopefully we can get him back up here. If we can't, then we'll just continue the conversation. He's a great performer. He's a great wrestler. Last week, had some problems with his daughter, which I personally understand. I'm a father myself of kids. I have now 2 girls, 2 boys. So we are going to understand that, if you will. However, abruptly leaving, let's hope we can get a hold of him. Let's hope nothing happened. I really don't know what to say about it, and I apologize to our regular listeners sitting in our chat rooms and watching us live tonight. You guys were into this conversation. Too bad he abruptly left. Now, some of the other questions in the rooms I don't know how to answer because only he could. Like how long, what's his gimmick like? I'm not really sure what it's like. Some other questions here I can't answer because he's not here. And I don't want to speculate. I don't want to lie. I don't want to, say something that's not right here. However, being in the field, I can answer the 2 questions. What's it like being in the ring versus a professional wrestling ring? There's pretty much no difference. In a ring is poles. You have the turnbuckles. You have the padding on the corners so you don't get hurt. You have the ropes. The ring can be high or low. I think maybe 13 inches is probably the lowest it goes. And I've seen them up to almost 4 foot, maybe 3.5, 4 feet high. Big stage. It's almost like getting into on a stage. And there can be anywhere from 16 feet all the way around. A big square, 16 feet. A 15-foot wrestling area all the way up to 22 feet's the largest I've ever seen, and that was a huge professional style ring with a large battle royale. They had 2 battle royales that night, and it was an absolutely wonderful show. It was 22 feet around. I think it was a boxing ring or a martial arts style like ring. It was set up a little bit differently. It kind of looked like a diamond, kind of like how they sat you. It kind of looked like a diamond. It was a square, but the way they sat you was kind of like looking at a diamond angle type. I mean, you didn't see the corner pieces, but the way you looked at it was a little different. And it was more of a lucha libre type wrestling competition and some martial artist type competitions. And then I've seen one that was a regular one like you see on TV. I've been in a few that were not good, and I've been in a few that were wonderful. And then we have the kinds that are a mix between the two. A spot here, a spot there, rope there, doesn't feel right. So it's a mixture of wrestling rings. And like I said before, you go up online and get them. But I'm not sure what kind he has. I'm not sure what the Wrestling Federation has that he wrestles for, the organization, the alliance, the Fed, the outfit, if you would, territory or whatever that he is involved in has. But it's pretty much the same. A square, like I said, a square frame with poles and ropes and turnbuckles and padding and some matting, some foam. Mostly it's a dense foam that is put down, and then on plywood, dense foam, canvas put over it. I'm answering another question that said, what is a ring made out of? The ropes are made out of either wire, where you would string a metal wire, kind of like the wires that hold up telephone poles, and you'd put tape over them, or hose, a garden hose type material over them. And sometimes they tape them, sometimes they don't. Now others are rope. And when it is rope, you tape them, or you put some kind of cloth heat sealant thing. You heat it up and it melts right to the rope. Or sometimes they're glued and spray painted different colors, of course. The padding is regular sponge, foam, lycra type material. Cushioning, maybe you would call it. Some are cushion material. Some are rug foam type, like you'd put under the rugs and stuff, that kind of a material. Some are just a hard rubber, and some have a coating on them. Some are in a cloth. Some just have a flap system where it's tied together over it. The WWE has a cloth corner pad. It's an actual padding or cushioning, if you would. And turnbuckles are regular metal turnbuckles. The poles are metal. The frame's metal. The apron's a cloth or some kind of vinyl, like the ones they make banners with. But WCW and ECW and a lot of the wrestling organizations have the foam type bent over, and it's in this really it almost looks like a plastic covering, a leather type covering. Others are it's just foam and padding and cushioning and everything taped with the ropes. It's all one big kind of, big piece. The ropes go into it, and, I don't really know how to get all into it, but that's what the wrestling rings are made out of, for your question. And it doesn't matter if it's in your backyard or in the arena. It's the same. Somebody's asking what it's like to be in a ring. It's okay. I mean, you got to have a bit used to the jumping out the ropes and the turnbuckles and your area positioning or body positioning of where you are. When you land on them, it depends on how well it is. Is it bouncy? If it's not, if it's padded, if it's not. I've been in ones that are hard, like landing on the ground. I've been in ones that's landing like on a waterbed. It was too soft, in fact. Others I've been in one that was just stiff, very, very stiff, like high school wrestling mats stiff. And then I've been in ones that are just padding, just foam. Special jigsaw puzzle-like things that are put together, and they cushion your fall, but they don't stop the trauma of your body hitting them. That's probably the word is trauma to your body of being slammed. And then others I've seen that are, loose boarding and stuff. So it depends. It depends on who the wrestler owns the ring, what you're doing, what, organization or what alliance or group, your outfit you're with. Group, I should say. What kind of group your backyard group of guys want. Some people prefer different kinds than others. I really don't care. They're all the same to me. Like I said, a big square rope, pulls. I do like the ones that have a little firming padding on it, so I don't feel the trauma on my body as much. But I'm getting older, so anything to help my body feel better might go into play here. So that answers those questions. So, like I said, my website's www.iambrotherwade.com. My email, cwlawrence01@gmail.com. Our phone number here is 607-238-3816. We have not, so basically, I guess he's not coming back. We're trying to get in touch with him to see what we could do. So let's go on another break here. I'm going to go on a little break, a lot lesser than it was before, not so long of a break, and I'm going to see what I can do. One last time, I'm going to see if I can get a hold of him. Hopefully we can. Hopefully we can see what's going on. At least I can get in touch with him, see if everything's okay. So we'll be right back right after this.
If I stay on the res, I'll be 8 times less likely to drop out of college.
If I stay on the res,
I won't be just another number.
I can learn biology in my native language.
I can use my education to help my people.
If I stay on the res,
I'll be more likely to transfer to a university.
6 times more likely if I stay on the res.
There's a 9 in 10 chance I'll finish college.
and I will finish college.
I will learn about the old ways so my culture will live on.
I will make my parents proud.
I'll make my people proud.
Our history will not be forgotten.
If I stay on the res,
I can get a quality education.
At a tribal college.
At a tribal college.
If I stay on the res.
If I stay on the res.
If I stay on the res.
Learn more about the 33 tribal colleges and how they're helping Native American people and their reservations. The American Indian College Fund, educating the mind and spirit.
Learn that when he pollutes the air and the water, he declares war against nature. American International Pictures presents Frogs, the story of the day nature strikes back. It was bound to happen, but why now? Why did these particular people on that particular island face this particular kind of slithering, slimy terror? See Frogs, starring Ray Milland, Sam Elliott, Joan Van Ark, Adam Rourke, and Judy Pace. Frogs, an American International picture, in color, rated PG. Frogs, today the pond, tomorrow the world.
And we come up off the break. We can't get a hold of them. I've tried. Somebody else has tried. Somebody one of the chat rooms even wanted to write him a message, and we can't get a hold of him. So maybe his phone cut off. Maybe something else is going on. I hope it's not. I hope everything's okay with his family. I really do. We're not mad at this. This happens, and it's a topic I know well, so we don't have to worry about having a specialist on here, if you will. But anyways, I wish I could have finished the conversation. I wish I could have known more about him. I wish I could have done something to, if I knew something was up, maybe we could have done another way to talk. I kind of feel that this could have been prevented somehow on either end. But anyways, folks, we've had a good discussion. We've had a wonderful discussion up here on Backyard Wrestling, and I hope a lot of people see that backyard wrestling, professional wrestling, wrestling in itself, or are beginning to see that wrestling is not bad. It's not something to run from. It's talented individuals, both on skill levels and entertainment levels, both skill and entertainment. And they can showcase that to you. And there's a lot of, another question here, this reminds me real quick here. Are you now, chat room, asked what organizations are out? Well, there's tons of organizations. There's tons of outfits, if you would, out there. There's tons of groups out there, organizations, companies. You just have to check your local area, see when wrestling shows are out there. Go online and type in wrestling show in your area. It should tell you when they've come. And if something has come to your area, get in touch with them. See if they'll come back, or see if they have a different schedule, or, you know. It's kind of like a, in a way, traveling bowling league. You never know where you're going to end up, or where you're going to be, or what. I've seen wrestling shows when I was on a trip somewhere, and we stopped into the wrestling show. I've been invited to wrestling shows. I found them online. I've been to one because I heard another wrestler at another wrestling show that I enjoyed seeing. They did a really fantastic match, and I was talking to them, and they recommended me another fed they worked for, and that's how I got involved in that one. I think my whole life I've probably met a good 150 wrestlers. I think probably about 50 or 60 of them have been well-known named wrestlers, or before they became named wrestlers. A lot of times at these independent shows, or these shows that you see, or even the backyard shows, like he mentioned, Kejaun mentioned, a lot of times they get their start at school, wrestling school. You can also contact wrestling schools to see when their shows are on, or if they know shows you can go to, or, different appearances. Look up wrestler appearances. Some of the wrestlers appear at different shows that are seen on TV. They'll go to other shows. You see when they are, and you go to them, and like I was just saying here, you meet somebody, they tell you something, they recommend something, then somebody invites you to something. So there's a lot of, talent out there that can help you find a wrestling show. Now, like I said, if they came to your area once, they may come again. They may have a schedule. They may have a thing. But like I was speaking about the bowling league here, is I was on a traveling bowling league one time just for fun of it or something. I don't know how I ever ended up on this thing. But we would go to the different bowling buildings, basically buildings, companies, whatever, bowling alleys, if you would, and bowl. There was 3 of us, somebody else, or we would sub for people. Hey, wait, that team doesn't have anybody on. I can go down there and be on their team. And I really enjoyed it because, one, I bowled all right. I don't know if I bowled good, but anyways, I bowled. Let's just put it that way. I knew how to bowl. And I met new people, and I met different things. And my one friend that invited me to do this, was a championship bowler. He was a real damn good bowler. I bowled one time against his team, and we were having a joke the whole time about it because he knew I wasn't as good as he was, but I didn't care. I was there to, bowl and have fun, and people would buy me food, and that it was kind of like hanging out at the bar. You're there, and people buy your food and drinks. Well, okay, I'll bowl and have food and drink. I didn't do it for very long. I don't know what happened. Maybe it ended. It was like 2 months or so. Anyways, in relation to the wrestling, it's like that. You go to different places, you meet different people, you get acquainted with people. Somebody says, "Oh, this team doesn't have a player. Can you sub? Can you?" And it's kind of like wrestling. It's kind of somebody didn't show up, their tickets are there, and they want to make money. They'll sell you their spot. They'll, I've done that too. But and you go and you meet people and you have fun and you see a wrestling show. And that's how you get to the shows. That's how things are normally done, just like anything else. How do you get to a baseball game? I don't know. You go to one, I guess. Talk to people in the baseball and see where their other games are. Hockey games. Go to a hockey game. Look, But wrestling's kind of not like a regular sport. It's kind of like the fans know where to go, the wrestlers know where to go, and they can recommend you. Oh, that wrestler is wrestling so-and-so. Oh, who's so-and-so? Well, it'll be such and such at, ice rink or something. And then you can go and see them at the ice rink and see how good they are and how wonderful they are. And, something to do and something to see. And it's kind of a wonderful type of thing to do. It's something out of the ordinary maybe. It's kind of out of the regular type sports they have, but it's great to watch. And I'm trying to think of the word for it. It's not amazing. It's not that real special, but it's unique. Unique might be the word. Unique for entertainment purposes. Two guys getting into a ring and competing against each other. Two girls competing against each other. Four people competing against each other. When you have a tag team, you have 2 against 2. Sometimes 6-man tag team. 12 people in the ring, and it is to see who's, what team's better, because those 6 people can't get along with the other 6 people. There's steel cage matches, and right now I'm answering, as I go through this, I just noticed there's somebody on our Facebook audience that just asked what, steel cage matches. Yes, steel cage matches. There's some kinds of leather strap matches, dog collar matches where they put dog collars on each other. Lumberjacks where they have people standing around the ring. If you fall out of the ring, they beat you down and throw you back in. There's all sorts of different stuff. And of course, the big Japan death matches. Barbed wire rope matches where the rope is replaced with barbed wire. It's all different kinds of stuff. All different kinds of unique forms of entertainment. It's very, very different than normal sports, and that's the lure of it in a way. That's the lure that we have. We have the lure for this unusual type of entertainment. Now, there's regular wrestling. I was a wrestler in high school. I was a wrestler after high school. I also did martial arts. So as an athlete in wrestling and knowing, how to subdue somebody, so to speak, weakening them so I can get a win on them by pinning them or making them submit, doing a move or something that causes them to be in pain. I'm coughing as I go along here, folks, so if I pause, that's why. We have, and don't worry, it's not COVID, it's not a cold. It's just the fact that I had a dry throat today for some reason. Anyways, it's nothing to be alarmed at. No medical emergency to have. Calm down, folks. Calm down. Anyways, it's something to behold. And for me to go to these things, I like it because of the lure of it. I like the entertainment part of it. I like the cheering. I like the noise. I like to see the guys beat on each other. I like to see the uniqueness of everything. I don't know if costuming goes in there. There's not much to costuming. You wear an outfit and you get in the ring with it. But some people go for the colored costumes, like the lucha libre style, which is the Mexican style of wrestling. Everybody has a mask on and some costume or something. And some people go because of the names, the famous people, the people that are competing against each other, so to speak. But it's all there, and it's part of professional wrestling. So, folks, thank you for joining me for this conversation about wrestling. Thank you for joining us. I hope Kejaun is all right. And if you want to see my website, it's www.iambrotherwade.com. My email, cwlawrence01@gmail.com. And our phone number for the show every week is 607-238-3816. Folks, it's been a great time. I'll see you next time.